James Carter had seen war. He had faced enemies in the deserts of the Middle East, witnessed brothers in arms fall, and lived through nightmares no civilian could ever comprehend. But nothing could have prepared him for the battle waiting at home. The day he returned from his final deployment, the air felt heavy. His wife, Lisa, greeted him at the airport with a warm hug, but something in her eyes had changed. The passion, the longing, the relief of seeing him alive, it wasn't there. Mike, Lisa's brother, or at least, that's who he had always been introduced as, stood a few feet away, wearing a smirk that James couldn't quite place. He had always been a little too friendly, but James, being the trusting man he was, never questioned it. "Welcome home, man," Mike said, slapping a hand on James' shoulder. "We missed you." James nodded, feeling the chill beneath the words. That night, as they lay in bed, Lisa turned away from him. He reached out to touch her, and she flinched ever so slightly before forcing a smile. "It's just been a long time," she said softly. Something was wrong. James could feel it in his bones. Days passed. The honeymoon phase of his return never arrived. Lisa was always on her phone, giggling at texts, excusing herself to make calls. The warmth in their home had turned to ice, and James felt like an outsider in his own life. One evening, as Lisa showered, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. James had never been the kind of man to invade his wife's privacy, but something inside him, perhaps the soldier's instinct, urged him to look. The message read, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." It wasn't from a name he recognized, just an unsaved number. His heart pounded. He scrolled up. The words that followed shattered something deep within him. He has no clue. Same time tomorrow. James clenched his jaw so hard it ached. His mind screamed, but his hands were steady. He had stared death in the face before, and this betrayal. This was another kind of battlefield. He wouldn't confront her. Not yet. A soldier never engages the enemy without intelligence. So James played it smart. He installed a hidden camera in their bedroom, set up tracking software on Lisa's phone, and waited. Every mission required patience, and this would be no different. Over the next few weeks, the evidence piled up. Lisa wasn't just cheating, she was doing it in their home. With Mike. Not her brother. The man James had welcomed into his life, had trusted like family, was nothing more than a snake. Every recorded interaction, every stolen kiss, every whispered confession, it all played out before James like a horror film he couldn't turn off. He felt sick. But the fury that burned inside him kept him steady. He wouldn't explode. Not yet. Because James wasn't just any man. He was a soldier, trained in patience, precision, and execution. And he was about to execute the perfect revenge. James withdrew all the money from their joint account, placing it in a separate one she had no access to. He consulted a lawyer, drafting divorce papers without her knowledge. Then, he dug deeper into Mike's past. What he found made his revenge even sweeter. Mike had a criminal record, fraud, unpaid debts, and an outstanding warrant under a different alias. James made an anonymous call. The authorities would handle that part of the problem for him. Meanwhile, he printed every text message, every image, and every video of their affair and mailed it to Lisa's family, her friends, and even her workplace, where she had painted herself as the perfect wife married to an honorable soldier. The destruction had begun. Lisa came home that evening, smiling as she saw James cooking dinner. It was their anniversary, after all. She had no idea what awaited her. "Sit," James said, his voice calm. Too calm. Lisa hesitated but obeyed. Mike arrived moments later, as expected. James slid a thick envelope across the table. Lisa's hands trembled as she opened it, revealing the undeniable evidence of her betrayal. Her face went pale. Mike froze. Then the doorbell rang. Lisa flinched as uniformed officers stormed in, arresting Mike on the spot. "You have outstanding warrants. You're coming with us." Lisa screamed as her lover was dragged away. But James wasn't done. He dropped the signed divorce papers in front of her. "I suggest you sign them," he said, his voice a blade. "You have nothing left. The money's gone. Your reputation. Ruined. Lisa sobbed, crumbling before him. But James? He simply walked away. James left town the next day, a free man. He had fought battles before, but this one. This was the sweetest victory of all. As he drove toward his new future, he smiled for the first time in months. Revenge wasn't just about getting even. It was about reclaiming power. And James had won. Please subscribe to our channel for more short stories. Don't forget to drop comment and likes.